your mother was raised religiously, and so there's two interpretations of that in the realm of possibility that spring to mind. And one is that prepared her to be subsumed into an alternate cult, right? Because you might say, well, because she was raised in a religious family, she was in the belief that you should turn to some sort of religious belief system was inculcated into her. You could also say that she needed that initial religious belief like everyone does, but it lacked something that she required, which is something you alluded to, which is the sense not only of a higher purpose that's specified for her, but a higher purpose that can be practically worked towards. And then you also mentioned, and this has more broad implications, that Scientology was attractive to her because it claimed, at least at the outset, to be part of the technological enterprise, the scientific enterprise, you might say, that you didn't need faith. There was a technology that was at hand. It had that at least the facade of scientific acceptability. We can talk about the e-meters in a while, and that it was practical. And so it seems to me that the most logical conclusion with regard to your mother isn't so much that her previous religious training had prepared her to be subsumed into a cult, but that there were lacks in her previous religious training. For example, the specification of a particular destiny for her and the provision of practical guidelines for how she might act to bring the world into a higher harmony. All of that was attractive to her. Does that seem about right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Invited, let's say, by a friend. Now, if you're an avid adherent of the Scientology discipline, let's say, or cult, is it incumbent on you to try to bring other people into the faith? And how is it, or into the enterprise? How is it that that's done? And how is that also developed and fostered or trained?
So it's something that's highly encouraged. It's not mandatory. It's not required. There's an incentive to do it because when you bring someone into Scientology, you're called their field staff member, their FSM, and that person is called your selectee. And as an FSM, you get 10 or 15% commission on every dollar that person pays to Scientology for courses or auditing or straight donations. So there's a financial incentive to bring people into Scientology. In addition to the incentive.
So there's a pyramid. Is there a pyramid scheme element of that, or does it only go to one person? Like if your person brings in more people, is that also of benefit to you?
It's one level deep. So you don't get overrides on your downline. You only get credit for the people you directly bring in. And once you bring them in, you have to continue to be sort of their personal coach and mentor on their way up Scientology's bridge to total freedom. Or another Scientologist can swoop in and become that person's FSM and get commissions for them. So
I see. So there's a competition for that as well, an ongoing competition.
Yes, it's definitely a zero-sum game. And
okay, let's start out by giving the devil his due. Obviously your mother was attracted by this, and it's reasonable to assume that by hook or by crook, something that was genuine or at least significantly attractive was offered to her. What do you think Scientology did for her that filled the void that had opened up inside of her?
At the lower levels, Scientology gives you an explanation for what's wrong with you, anything that you could, in an insecure way, feel is wrong with you. Indecisiveness, not living up to your full potential, self-doubt, insecurity, all these things. That the cause of this is called the reactive mind. And that's kind of L. Ron Hubbard's version of the Freudian subconscious. And that the reactive mind is a collection of all the recordings of pain and unconsciousness. And these recordings are called engrams. And these engrams compose your reactive mind. And you're not to blame for the fact that you have a reactive mind. It's not your fault The engrams are the source of all of this wrongness and negativity. And Scientology and Dianetics give you the tools to resolve your reactive mind. So there's an attractiveness to this, which is saying you're someone who always has wanted to do better than how you've been doing. This thing called your reactive mind is holding you back. It's not your fault. And we have the technology through our procedures and our processes. We can get rid of your reactive mind, and that will leave you, once you shed your reactive mind, that basically leaves you as a perfect computing, analyzing, it leaves you with a perfectly computing and analyzing mind. That's the pitch in the beginning. So it's kind of solving a lot of problems at once and shifting
Right.
responsibility to something outside of yourself.
Right. Now, is that clearing?
Yes, the procedure of getting rid of your reactive mind is called clearing, and then you
Yeah.
achieve the state of clear. And if you ever hear Scientologists
Yeah.
say our goal is to clear the planet, that's actually what they mean. It's getting the majority of the population of Earth up to Scientology's state of clear.